من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue in Kitaab At-Tawheed on this day of Sunday, December the 9th, 6:42 p.m., 2018, in regards to the Gregorian calendar, which agrees or was a direct correlation in the Hijri calendar, which is now still in Rabi' al-Awwal. Wow, it's the first Rabi' al-Thani. No. As it is we're still in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, which is the 30th and the 9th, or the Aam of the year of 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. To turn back to the chapter where the Mu'allif rahimahullah, that he put in the chapter the ayah, as he says, Bab qawlillahi ta'ala, innaka la tahdi man ahbabt, walakin Allah yahdi man yasha. To the end of the ayah, right? That's where we stopped it, right, everyone? Is that where we are? No. We also discussed the different types of hidayah, that they're of different categories. As Al-Alama Ibn al-Qayyim said, that it breaks down how many categories, everyone? We said four categories. As you have al-hidayat al-amma al-mushtaraka bayna jami' al-khalq, or the guidance of what has been distributed generally amongst all of the creation. Then we talked about hidayat al-dalala wal-irshad, hidayat al-dalala wal-irshad, or the guidance of clarification and direction, which we said is in the hands of the creation, and at the head of them was the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and the du'at, and those who have the proper credentials and qualifications to disseminate knowledge. Then we said, after that was what comes after that, everyone? The du'a, or what they call hidayat al-tawfiq, or hidayat al-qalb, the guidance of the heart and the guidance of success. That type of hidayah, as we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is only for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. For the guidance of the heart, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates, yes, He creates hidayah fi qalbi man yasha. That Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He puts hidayah in the heart of whom He wills. He puts hidayah in the heart of whom He wills, and based upon that hidayah, Allah tabarak wa ta'ala will give tawfiq of also after the hidayah, meaning hidayat al-qalb, and yuwaffiquhu ila al-amal al-salih. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, after He has created that hidayah in the heart of the servant, then Allah tabarak wa ta'ala will give him tawfiq to do righteous actions. For we said that type of hidayah is only for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. No one else owns the affair of the heart, in which you'll find that we say in khutbat al-haja all the time, as we talked about and discussed this, مَن يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ وَمَن يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. And that is the meaning of the meaning of khutbat al-haja that we hear all the time, where it says clearly, when the Messenger of Allah said, whoever Allah guides, no one can misguide him. And whoever Allah chooses to misguide, no one can guide him. And ayats that's more, this cannot be counted or enumerated in the book of Allah. أَتُرِيدُونَ تَهْدُوا مَنْ أَضَلَّ اللَّهُ. Do you want a God who Allah is misguided? Or for example, if Allah Ta'ala talks about even the mushrikeen, or even regards to those who He's misguided, وَمَن يُضْلِلْ فَلَن تَجِدَ لَهُ وَلِيًّا مُرْشِدًا. That whoever Allah guides, then you will never find anyone to what? Be as a one to guide him or direct him in the correct direction. For those ayat, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, as we said, are all proofs and evidences that the guidance of the heart is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala alone. And no one conducts in that affair except Allah. And in that, we said last class, in that is a refutation against the Qadariyah, the deviant sect called the Qadariyah. As we said before, any time you find that Allah Ta'ala talks about an action that is exclusively only for Him, and when you'll find that He conducts in those affairs alone, You'll find even the great Imam Abu Bakr al-Ajurri that he put in his book called Kitaab al-Sharia. They said that is a refutation of those who say that the qadr of Allah or the mashi'ah of Allah is not upon the creation. Rather, the creation, they create their own actions alone. And Allah Ta'ala has nothing to do with the actions of the slaves. Rather, the slaves themselves create their own actions. And Allah has no will over that whatsoever. Which necessitates what, everyone? Which necessitates that something takes place in this existence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not will. Either something took place He did not will, or He willed something and it did not happen. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Which is all misguidance and batil and dalal, in which the deviant sect of the Qadariyya believe. So based upon that, we believe firmly that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says in His book, what, everyone? That if He wants to guide an individual, what? No one can misguide him. Which is to clearly show that He ta'ala ultimately is the one who what? Is in control. Even though the creation still has their own what? Has their will. However, the will of the creation follows behind the mashi'ah of Allah ta'ala. Mashi'at al-khalq tabi'atun li mashi'at Allah ta'ala. So Allah ta'ala is ultimately the one that what? He's the one that's in control. And there's so many ayahs to prove this, as we talked about before, right, everyone? So many ayahs, too many to be counted. Some of them, for example, وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ وَأَبْصَارَهُمْ كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوْلَ مَرَّةٍ وَنَظَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُمْ. Now listen to what Allah Ta'ala clearly says. We flipped their hearts. We changed it. وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ وَأَبْصَارَهُمْ كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَنَظَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُمْ. That we switch and flip their hearts. And likewise their insight. What was the reason why they did it? Because they chose misguidance. Because they did not believe the first time. And we leave them in their misguidance to go deeper and deeper into it. So Allah Ta'ala said He flipped their hearts. Changed it. For them, after they wanted guidance, it flipped to misguidance. And Allah increased them in that. And they continued to go deep and deep inside of their misguidance until they became totally lost and destroyed. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? All these ayats are ayats to what? Clearly affirm that Allah Ta'ala is the one that's in control of the what? Of the hearts. So many ayats, so many ahadith, they're too many to be counted and enumerated. Too many. We know that Allah, I can't remember, I think it's the Surah Al-A'raf, I'll give it to you later. But anyway, ya ma'ashal ikhwa. Also, likewise, that we said from those ahadith that have been affirmed in the authentic sunnah and the message of Allah is in your books. It's right here. Amongst other ahadith. But this ahadith is a shahid that it's awdah kashams fi rabi'at al-nahar. It's more clear than the sun in the mid-afternoon. Clearer than the sun in the mid-afternoon. That Allah Ta'ala controls the heart. Like we talked about, that we said, if you look in the hadith, as we said, that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam tried to guide his own uncle. His own uncle who knew he was the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, as he said in that poetry, as we discussed last class, as Abu Talib clearly said in that poetry, وَلَقَدْ عِلِمْتُ أَنَّ دِينَ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْ خَيْرِ أَدْيَانِ الْبَرِيَّةِ دِينًا وَلَوْلَا الْمَلَامَةُ مَخَافَ مَسَبَّةٍ لَوَجَدْتَنِي صَرْحًا بِذَلِكَ مُبِينًا. He said that clearly. He said, وَلَقَدْ عِلِمْتُ أَنَّ دِينَ مُحَمَّدٍ مِنْ خَيْرِ أَدْيَانِ الْبَرِيَّةِ دِينًا. Indeed, I know that the deen of Muhammad is the best religions of all the creatures, of the creation. Indeed, I know this. But what was the reason? It says clearly in the hadith, is exactly what he said in the poetry. However, out of fear of people insulting me, or cursing me, or now my family rebuking me, or censoring me, or ostracizing me, or treating me different, all these affairs. He says, if that wasn't the case, you would see me openly professing to it. Clearly opening and practicing it and professing to what he's upon, alayhi salatu wasalam. So all that is to show what, everyone? He knew the truth. Despite of that, al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah ghalabat alayh. That fanaticism of what we was upon before Islam, or that hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah, that blind fanaticism that was connected with his heart, is the what had took precedence and overtook him at the time of death, until he became from the inhabitants of hell. Nasallahu ya'afina wa iyyakum. You'll find, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, if you clearly said in the hadith, what do we say? The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said, Ya ammi, qul la ilaha illallah, kalimatan uhajju laka biha indallah. Until they have mentioned and said to him, who was around him? We said it was Musayyab, right? Musayyab ibn Hazm al-Makhzumi al-Qurashi, who was the father of the great Imam Sa'id ibn Musayyab. Sa'id ibn Musayyab, his father was Musayyab, who was a Sahabi. And likewise, his grandfather, Hazn, Sa'id ibn Musayyab ibn Hazn al-Qurashi, al-Makhzumi al-Qurashi. Him and his grandfather was Sahabiyan. As we said, Musayyab, وكذلك Hazn, kana Sahabiyayni. That they were two companions of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. But we said Sa'id was a what? He was a tabi'i. He was a tabi'i. We said that it was said that Musayyab was there when this happened to Abu Talib, who's the uncle of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. So he was present, and Abdullah ibn Umayyah, as they were from the same, as they said, they were from the same tribe. He was also Makhzumi. So Musayyab was Makhzumi. He was also Qurashi too, but he was Makhzumi. And Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah was also Makhzumi. Except Abu Jahl. You'll find that Ahl Ilm said that, you'll find that even from Ahl Ilm, even Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Hasan al-Shaykh, he mentions Fath al-Majid, that he said that both of them became Muslim. Musayyab and who? Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah. Ma adahu, except who, everyone? Abu Jahl. Baqiya ala kufrihi wa mata alayh. As we know, Abu Jahl remained upon what? He remained upon disbelief. This is before they became what? Muslim. As it says in the context of the book, فَقَالَ, that was before they became Muslim. Before they Islam. It says, فَقَالَ لَهُ أَتَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ عَبْدِ الْمُطَّلِبِ عفوا أترغب عن ملة عبد المطلب فأعاد عليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأعاد فكان آخر ما قال هو على ملة عبد المطلب وأبى أن يقول لا إله إلا الله فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لاستغفرن لك ما لم أنهى عنك فأنزل الله عز وجل ما كان للنبي والذين آمنوا أن يستغفروا للمشركين ولو كانوا أولي قربى من بعد ما تبين لهم أنهم أصحاب الجحيم. طيب. So he said, oh my uncle. He said, oh my uncle. As we know, Al-Am is who, everyone? It's the brother of the father. He's the Akhul Ab, right, everyone? And the Khal, as we know, is what? Al-Khal is Akhu Ish, Akhul Type. We know that Al-Am is the brother of the father. Am is the brother of the father. Your brother, you have a father? He has a brother that's your uncle. So the uncle from the father's side is Am. The uncle from your mother's side is called Khal. Jade, it's Akhul Taib. So we know that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam had gave good care, as he put great emphasis on taking care of his uncle due to the fact of numerous reasons. From them, as we know, Al-Am Sinwul Ab. It's almost as if he's like the twin of the what? The father. Because they're what? They're brothers. So that's the reason why he gave precedence in caring for his uncle, of course. It's like he's a branch off of his father. He's Woke up now, huh? طيب. So when the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, say La ilaha illallah. You'll find, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, pay attention. This is something very important. I want everybody to be attentive of. When the Messenger of Allah said, repeat this statement, La ilaha illallah. As we talked about before, that the meaning of La ilaha illallah with the mushrikeen was correct. They knew what it meant. They knew what it necessitated. They knew what would be the result if they was to utter it, what would be binding upon them, and what they would have to leave off. So they knew that La ilaha illallah meant La ma'bud bihaq illallah. They knew that. Even Abu Talib knew the correct meaning of La ilaha illallah. In contrast to a lot of Muslims these days who give the ta'wil of La ilaha illallah to mean something else. They say that the La ilaha illallah means there's La hakima illallah. هذا غلط. ولا رازق إلا الله. فسروا لا إله إلا الله بتوحيد الربوبية. So now you will find they will say there's no judge except Allah, or there's no Razzaaq except Allah, there's no sustainer except Allah, there's no one that gives death except Allah. Is this correct, everyone? No, it is. It's incorrect. غلط. Why? Because we said that the mushrikeen believed this already, and they did not what? Did not suffice them. Rather, they became from the inhabitants of hell, even though they had this i'tiqad, even though they had this belief. Right, everyone? So it did not suffice them. The reason why a lot of them refrained or they hesitated to utter the statement because they knew what would be obligatory upon them if they was to utter it. That's why Abu Talib even refrained from saying it, because he knew what it meant, the correct meaning of La ilaha illallah. Even I'm going to read, even what Shaykh Abdurrahman Ali Hassan Ali Shaykh, I'm going to just read quickly what he says. Listen to this. He says, فأعاد عليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأعاد فيه معرفتهما لمعنى لا إله إلا الله لأنهما عرفا أن أبا طالب لو قالها لبرئ من ملة عبد المطلب. فإن ملة عبد المطلب هي الشرك بالله في ألوهيته وأما الربوبية فقد أقر بها كما تقدم. وقد قال عبد المطلب لأبرهة أنا رب الإبل والبيت له رب يمنعه منك. وهذه المقالة منهما عند قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لعمه قل لا إله إلا الله استكبارا عن العمل بمدلولها. To the end of it. He says, we'll find this narration from the benefit of it, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, is that in it is the knowledge of those who are around him, meaning Abu Talib, the correct meaning of La ilaha illallah. Because they knew that if he was to utter it, he would have to be free of the way or the practice of Abdul Muttalib. We have to reject it. Reject their ma'budat, set himself and cut himself free from what they were worshiping. Which is to let you know that the mushrikeen all knew that the meaning of La ilaha illallah, meaning that there's nothing deserving of worship except Allah. They knew what had been binding upon them. So they knew that La ilaha illallah necessitated what, everyone? That Allah had to be united or unified in His worship, not in His rububiyyah, even though that's what it necessitates. Rububiyyah is included inside uluhiyyah. But it's not just rububiyyah alone, as a lot of the Muslims believe. They're upon the deviant sects. You'll find that they believe that rububiyyah is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. If that was the case, then that would have sufficed the mushrikeen, because they believed that. And despite of that, it wasn't enough for them until they came with another affair, which is what? That Allah be unified in His worship in every aspect. So that is to show what, everyone? That the La ilaha illallah, the idea of the correct belief, understanding of it, was in the belief of the mushrikeen. They knew what would necessitate. That's the reason why they hesitated to what? To utter it. Because they know once Abu Talib mentioned it, what would happen? Khalas, done. They knew that he was going to free himself from all their what? All their idols. He's going to totally distance himself from it. cut it off, which is to clearly show that they knew what the meaning of La ilaha illallah meant. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? In contrast to some of the Muslims these days, you'll find that they give another meaning, whereas the mushrikeen knew what it meant properly. It's sad to say that this is the state of a lot of Muslims these days, based upon so much jahl and based upon evil scholars who have implanted deceit inside of their belief system, who have corrupted it. So the mushrikeen during the time of the Prophet ﷺ knew the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. That it means, if they was to utter it, أن عليهم خلع جميع المعبودات التي تعبد من دون الله تبارك وتعالى أو مع الله. That if they uttered it, they would have to totally rip and free themselves from anything that was what? Worship besides Allah, or worship along with Allah. That's the reason why they kept repeating over and over again to Abu Talib, saying to him, what, everyone? Are you going to leave off the way of Abdul Muttalib? Are you going to leave it off? So it says, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, that Abu Talib, what would have been binding upon him, as we know, what we just mentioned, he would have to now unify and purify that aspect of worship. And he would say it upon what? Knowledge, and also likewise upon surety. No doubt. If he would have done that, then he would have freed himself from polytheism, not only from polytheism, but also its people. And he would enter in the fold of Islam. But just listen. As we know, the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, when Abu Talib died, who died 8 days later? Khadija. So Abu Talib died, who defended the Messenger of Allah. It was the best aid for him, and he died in a state which was a state of disbelief, even though he was the greatest of those who defended him. He knew the truth, he knew it was correct. Despite of that, you'll find that he did not embrace the haqq. He did not embrace what was true, the truth. And 8 days later, Khadija died. 8 days later. Likewise. So the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, you see what he went through of difficulties, upon more difficulties, upon being driven out and kicked out of his land, to his own people making enmity with him, to his own people casting him out and exiling him from the land, and also likewise, the best one who defended him also died or was killed. Also, his wife died 8 days. His best of those who he loved died 8 days later. It was Khadija. So 8 days after Abu Talib died, Khadija died. It was to let everyone know and put in perspective the hardships of the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, one after another, and a lot how they happened in succession in certain times. To let you know how severe and how intense the difficulties that he faced, alayhi salatu wasalam, in certain times. So after this, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, it says, La ilaha illallah. He says, then when he mentioned it, that the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, was saying it in order to teach him right before his death, which we'll also gather from the benefits of this, in which one teaches one who's about to die on his deathbed, of teaching him and all the signs of death has become imminent, or has appeared, that it manifested, he's about to what? Die. That to teach the person who's about to die this kalima before he dies. So he's at his deathbed, and it says, you'll find that the Messenger of Allah says, say, قُل لَا إِلَهِ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. You'll find that the great Imam, that even he mentions, rahimahullah, he says, يجوز أنه قاله على سبيل الأمر والإلزام لأنه يجب أن يأمر كل أحد يقول لا إله إلا الله ويجوز أنه قال على سبيل الإرشاد والتوجيه ويجوز أنه قال على سبيل الترجي والتلطف معه وأبو طالب والذين عنده يعرفون هذه الكلمة ويعرفون معناها ولهذا بادر بالإنكار تلاندب. He said that the Messenger of Allah said this, he said to his uncles, say La ilaha illallah. He says it's permissible to say, number one, everyone, are you with me? It's permissible to believe, number one, that the Messenger of Allah said this in a manner of what we understand as a command. Number one. Number two, it's also permissible to say that he said this to direct him, to try to guide him. Which type of guidance? Which category? Which category, everyone? Category number 2, which is hidayat al-what? Al-tawjih, wal-irshad, wal-bayan. Number 2. And also that it's also permissible for us to say that what? That he said it in a manner of hope, of hoping he would embrace it. And also showing sympathy. Being sympathetic for his uncle, being sympathetic with his uncle. What is correct when he says it's a word uhajju laka biha indallah. A word that I will be able to what? How do we understand it? First, out of curiosity, how do they write it in your books? He says a word that I will argue with Allah. How do they translate it? It's supposed to translate. It's supposed to. I will plead J. What is correct to say, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, when he says, say it, it will be a word in which that adhkuruha hujjatan laka indallah. He says, I will mention it as a what? As a hujjatan laka indallah. What is it translated as again in your books, everyone? To plead with Allah, to plead with Allah. Now, that's a good what? That's a good translation. Instead of using a certain translations, they say, I will argue with Allah with. That's incorrect. That I'll argue with Allah. It's a bad translation. To argue with Allah. No one will argue with Allah. But it will be used as a what? As a plea for you with Allah to be with Allah on the day of resurrection. Some books that have translated, they said that. Because I came across that before. An argument that I'll argue with Allah. That I'll argue with Allah. A word that I can utilize as an argument with Allah. It says it in there? G. It said, but to correct that translation, that's inappropriate. But as a plea with Allah Ta'ala is a good translation, in which the message of Allah will mention here. He says it is a hujjatan laka indallah. A word in which I'll plead with Allah Ta'ala by on the day of resurrection. Why? Because laysa yukhasim wa la ukhasim Allah wa la ujadilu laka biha indallah is not the meaning. An argument that I will argue with Allah or I will conflict or differ with Allah in, that's all incorrect. Like we said, the meaning of it is that a word that I'll mention to plead for you with Allah Ta'ala on the day of resurrection. That is what? That is what's correct as far as the translation. Or I'll testify for you by that word with Allah. You can say either one. You can say used as a plea with Allah, or I will testify by that word with Allah to be with Allah. You can say either which one. You writing this down or you just looking? Huh? I don't need you to read, I need you to write. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? طيب. So when they said, do you desire other than the way of Abdul Muttalib? And this is to what? This is to now reprimand the fact that he would embrace what the message of Allah was calling him to. For the message of Allah والسلام, as we know, Abu Talib was the best of those who aided him, protected him, guarded him, and warded off the harm of the mushrikeen from him والسلام. And like we said, keep in mind all the signs of prophethood, he knew it with surety. He knew it with surety that he was the message of Allah والسلام, without any doubt. So it was something that was what? Known and established, in which we said in the poetry that Abu Talib himself even what? Even acknowledged. And he also confessed. He knew this without any doubt. For that reason, when at the last part, you will find that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ has said, I will seek forgiveness for you as long as I'm not prohibited to do so. But at the end of what it says, notice it says in the narration, if you look in your books, it says, فَكَانَ آخِرُ مَا قَالَ هُوَ عَلَى مِلَّةِ عَبْدِ الْمُطَّلِبِ. Some of the ruwat of the hadith, that they found it really dispraiseworthy to say this statement. You'll find in a lot of narrations, they said that he said that فَكَانَ آخِرُ مَا قَالَ. The last of what he said, that instead of saying, I'm upon the way of Abu Talib, notice he said what? Huwa. He is. So as if they did not want to say what? That word out of what? Saying how vilified, dispraiseworthy that statement is. To die in a manner which is considered the most humiliating way that any human being can die. Which is to die upon what? Polytheism. Because that is the sin Allah Ta'ala promised He will never forgive. So you find that the ruwat to the hadith, that some of them, instead of saying that I'm upon the what? They said that what? Huwa. Adala an ana. You'll find that they went away from mentioning I am to what? Mentioning saying he, what everyone? He is upon. The way of Abdul Muttalib. He is upon. To show the vilified, uglified statement of what he mentioned. So the ruwat to the hadith said that was the last thing that he died upon. For number one, you'll find there's numerous benefits extracted from the hadith. Number one is, of course, how al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah, wal-asabiyyat al-jahiliyyah, wal-nakhwat al-jahiliyyah, wal-unsuriyya al-jahiliyyah, wal-qawmiyya al-jahiliyyah, kulla hadihi min al-jahiliyyat. All these affairs are from jahiliyyah. From the most evilest of affairs, of what can cause and render one in an affair, not only an affair, but rather will throw him and plunge him into destruction. And what will destroy him is having blind fanaticism for something that is absolutely false and something that you know clear as day is wrong, but the fact that one is out of fear of leaving off what his forefathers was upon, or something that his family was upon, or it's a custom, or tradition, or anything that you blindly hold on to, even though you know it opposes the religion and opposes the truth. How dangerous it is to hold on to that. And it could be a reason for your destruction. If you don't give precedence to what Allah said over what your tradition says, or your custom says, or your people says, or what your land says, or what your family background, what's been practiced for generation over generation, min ajdad ajdadik, to the end of it. If it opposes what Allah Ta'ala has sent down, it's obligatory upon you to rid yourself of it. Because it could be a reason for your destruction, as it happened to Abu Talib himself, even though he knew the truth. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? It could be a reason for your destruction. No matter if your nationality or whatever, or background, or what was your tradition from what? From your ajdadik, from the great-great-grandfathers that you have. How the Asabiyya Jahiliyyah is dangerous. That blind fanaticism that is connected with Jahiliyyah could be the affair that will what? Plunge one into destruction. To the point where if he dies upon it, he could be from the inhabitants of hell forever. As what happened to Abu Talib. Similar to that, likewise, you'll find that people who are upon blind fanaticism in a lot of ways from the Muslims. You'll tell people, for example, a Muslim, the Messenger of Allah prayed like this. Why do you pray like this? And they'll say, I follow the way of what my people were raised. That's how Imam Malik prayed. That's how Imam Shafi'i prayed. Even though all that's kadhaba ala al-Imam Shafi'i, kadhaba ala al-Imam Malik. But despite of that, let's just say, in sah. Hal. Is it permissible now for you to give precedence to what they did or what the Messenger of Allah did? The Messenger of Allah prayed like this. All of the Sahaba prayed like this. Without any ikhtilaf. The Messenger of Allah clearly says, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray how you see me pray. There's not been one narration the Messenger of Allah prayed with his hands to the side. That is a blind fanaticism that people follow, which is incorrect. You'll find them holding on to it based upon it's a custom or tradition or a way that I was raised with. So now when the haqq comes to you, and then what the Messenger of Allah did was such and such, it's binding upon you to rid yourself of that custom or that tradition and embrace what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came with. That is your what? Salvation and your prosperity and your success. By leaving off everything that opposes what Allah and His Messenger has what? Has came and has revealed. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Those affairs is which we're talking about is the exact thing that's connected with Abu Talib, where it was now, what overtook him in that particular moment in time was a nakhwatul jahiliyyah or al-hamiyatul jahiliyyah. As Allah Ta'ala even dispraised the mushrikeen and the people of Kufr in Surah Al-Fath, where He said that He says that it was now soaked into the hearts of the mushrikeen, of those who disbelieve. إِذْ أُشْرِبَ فِي قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا حَمِيَّةَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. That Allah Ta'ala as a punishment for them, meaning them holding on to what their forefathers were upon, as a punishment for them, Allah said that their hearts became soaked in and immersed with hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah, what is holding on to blind fanaticism of what their forefathers were upon. And Allah put it in their hearts to the point where it became stuck, where it was hard for them to leave it off. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So those affairs, like we said, of those who are upon what is incorrect, and you embrace what is batil, and putting off what Allah and His Messenger said, until the point, like we said, it could be the reason it was downfall and destruction, until Allah Ta'ala as a punishment can now make that blind fanaticism be clinging to your heart, unless Allah Ta'ala wants to what? Rectify it by removing it, except if Allah Ta'ala wills. If Allah Ta'ala wills. So this is the affair was extracted from this hadith. Is the danger of what they call al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah. Al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah or al-awsabat al-a'ma al-jahiliyyah, which is called al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah, is like that jahili, pre-Islamic enthusiasm of holding on to something false because it's just merely that your forefathers used to do, or what you were brought up with, or what you was raised with, or what was a traditional custom, or what was a tradition. All those affairs, if they clearly oppose Kitaab and Sunnah, it's obligatory upon you to rid yourself of it, free yourself of it, and embrace what is the haqq and what is correct. Because that is the reason why a lot of people have chosen misguidance over guidance based upon what they call al-hamiyyat al-jahiliyyah. That's the dangers of it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَىٰ أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says in His book about the dangers of holding on to what your forefathers are upon. We said, verily we found our forefathers upon a way, and verily in their tracks we follow them. And Allah Ta'ala had mentioned and said about your forefathers being upon batil, that your forefathers or what they were practicing was incorrect. And in spite of that, you'll find, like we said, people will still embrace and stay upon that because of some type of what? Blind fanaticism, or blind following, or blind what they call asabiyah, or some type of what they call blind fanaticism, or what they call clinging to something without any evidence and proof, just because it's just something that our forefathers did. Is there any evidence for that? I know it's no evidence, but I'm just doing what I did, what they did. How many people have you talked to the Christians? What do they say? A lot of them even know that what they're upon or what they're practicing is batil. They know it. But they say, what do they say at the end? This is what my mom did. This is what my father did. That's it. That's good. I'm good. Do you know this doesn't make sense? I know it doesn't make sense. I don't even probably believe it. Some of them will even tell you. It does sound suspect, but I'm just doing what? What my mother and father did. That's what the kuffar, even with some of the Muslims. Yeah, akhi, do you know it's permissible to wipe over your socks? Listen, I know I've been Muslim all these years. Yeah, it's permissible to wipe over his socks. The Messenger of Allah used to wipe over his socks. After he made wudu, he put his socks on, wipe over it. No, akhi. You're supposed to wash your feet. But the Messenger of Allah used to wipe over his socks. What's the problem? Why don't you just do the Messenger? Listen, this is what I was taught. This is what I was raised with. This is what my mother taught me. This is what I know. That suffices. Okay. Why do you pray with your hands to the side? The Messenger of Allah and all the Sahaba, Qatibatan, all of them, prayed like this. All of them. Pray with their hands on their chest, like this. Why do you pray like that? You know, they say Imam Shafi'i did this, but the Messenger of Allah, listen, I know what you're saying sounds correct, but all I want to say at the end, this is what I know, this is what I was taught, this is what I was raised with, that's enough for me. You see how the qa'idah applies in a lot of ways? You see it? That's the danger of Hamiyya Jahiliyyah and Asabiyya Jahiliyyah. Asabiyya Jahiliyyah a'ma. It's the danger of it. You understand, everyone? How it can plunge one into destruction and plunge one in mukhalafati amri Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It will also plunge one into what? Opposing and being opposition to the command of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, which is also dangerous. أن هذا الأمر العصب الجاهلية يوقع صاحبها في مخالفة أمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مع أن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول في محكم تنزيله فليحذر الذين يخالفون عن أمره أن يصيبهم فتنة أو يصيبهم عذاب أليم. That a person now, as a reason for opposing what the Messenger of Allah came with by some Hamiyya Jahiliyyah, Asabiyya Jahiliyyah, could be a reason for your destruction based upon the ayahs Allah Ta'ala says in His book, that those who go against the command of the Messenger of Allah beware, as a fitna may befall them, or what? Or painful torment would afflict them. As Imam Ahmed had mentioned and said in this particular ayah, he says, this is about the ayah where he says, وَلَعَلَّ هَذَا يعني الذي تكلم عن أن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول أن تصيبهم فتنة فلعله يرد بعد قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيقع في قلبه زيغ فيهلك. He said, for maybe perhaps he will just refute a little or some of what the Messenger of Allah said. For what will come as a result of it will what? Fall into his heart something of deviance and he'll be destroyed. So that which is pertaining to what, everyone? Of what affair what happened with Abu Talib is most dangerous of affairs. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? From the benefits of what we're talking about also right now is the danger of evil friends, evil companions. Because who were around him at the time was what? People who influenced him and people who drove him to this state were people of evil. People of evil, ashab as-su'. People of evil affected him and influenced him until he fell into remaining upon what was incorrect. And he died in that state. How evil companions can even affect you and even have some influence even at the time of your death if they're around you. And that's what happened to Abu Talib. Having evil companions around himself led him to destruction likewise. Which is to show everyone likewise he should be very careful who he chooses to be around him. Because your friends reflect on who you are. Your friends reflect on who you are and they are who you are. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So you know the hadith of the Prophet which is in the Sahih. Al-arwahu junudun mujannada fama ta'arafa minha talaf وما تناكر منها اختلف. وكما قال الشاعر إن الأرواح جنود. No, let me use the poetry. It says I'm going to switch it. إن القلوب لأجناد مجندة لله في الأرض بالأهواء تعترف فما تعارف منها فمؤتلف وما تناكر منها فهو مختلف. He said in the poetry, he says الأرواح إن القلوب لأجناد مجندة لله في الأرض بالأهواء تعترف فما تعارف منها فهو مؤتلف وما تناكر منها فهو مختلف. That's it. Where it says it about in the poetry that the qulub, the hearts are like recruited soldiers. Soldiers that come together. If their souls are acquainted, they'll come together. And if they're not, they'll go away. They will not be linked together. So everyone with you're upon, you will be linked together with them. You will be what? You'll be linked together of what you're inclined towards. You should hear what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said about that particular narration. I'll talk about that later. Any rate, the poet says in his poetry, he says, إِنَّ الْقُلُوبَ لَأَجْنَادٌ مُجَنَّدَةٌ فِي اللَّهِ لِلَّهِ فِي الْأَرْضِ إن القلوب لا أجناد مجندة لله في الأرض بالأهواء تعترف. That's it. فما تعارف منها فمؤتلف وما تناكر منها فهو مختلف. He said, by the ways in which you see people are inclined towards or who they link together with, he says, consider that of what they're upon in the earth. For what you see who you come together with all the time, that's what they're upon. And see who goes away from each other, that's what they're upon what indicates. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? You will never find in anywhere, any place in the dunya, except that a person who they're linked towards is always has some type of what? Resemblance in some type of way, either in their clothes or in their ways or in their way of thinking. No matter who it is or where it is, or what they're inclined towards, or who they're constantly around, or who they collaborate with, or who they give talks with, or what they're around and who they're around, what their inclination is. And that is what to show how likewise what happened to Abdul Muttalib here in this particular narration. What happened to him until he died upon what his companions at that time were upon, from Abu Jahl, and before they became Muslim, radiyallahu anhuma, who was Musayyab and Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah. But before they embraced Islam, Abu Talib became affected by what they were upon, until he died in the same mentality and the same belief that they were what? They were upon at the time. Is it clear what I'm saying, Camden? The next time I'm not giving you excuse for not having a pen and a pencil. Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So the message of Allah alayhi salatu, we gotta stop soon. So the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam had mentioned and said, I will seek forgiveness for Allah for you, as long as I've not been prohibited to do so. Allah Ta'ala sent down the ayah, even though the ayah, سبب نزول هذه الآية يتعدد كان لنزول هذه الآية أسباب كثيرة جدا غير ما نذكره الآن. Anyway, that Allah Ta'ala sent down this ayah. It was not for the message of Allah, nor those who believe that they would seek forgiveness for the polytheists, even if they were close in their family. After it's been made clearly that they are the inhabitants of hell. وَلَوْ كَانُوا أُولِي قُرْبَى. أُولِي قُرْبَى, even if it's in their family. أُولِي قُرْبَى. يعني مَنْ كَانَ مِنْ أَقَارِبِكَ, was from your family. And the message of Allah, his uncle was what? His uncle. And despite of that, Allah Ta'ala what? Prohibited that what? That he seek forgiveness for him, because he died in a state of disbelief. Also, the narration of what's the proof of that is the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam was also prohibited to seek forgiveness for his own mother. Now, as it comes in the Sahih, when the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam found the grave of his mother, and he wept, and those around him wept, he said, and he turned to his companions, and he said to them, I asked Allah to seek forgiveness for my mother, and Allah prohibited me. But, as he says, alayhi salatu wasalam, in the same narration, but Allah Ta'ala allowed to what? To visit her grave for a reason. After it was made impermissible to visit the what? The graves. Then it was allowed for one reason. For what? To take in consideration of death and preparation for it. No more, no less. That's it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? To remind yourself of death. No more, no less. To remind yourself of death. And of course, if one was to seek forgiveness for those who died in the state of Iman. Before we say in regards to what's the shahid of the hadith is what, everyone? That the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam that Allah Ta'ala prohibited him from seeking forgiveness for his what? His uncle. And also in another narration, his own what? His mother. Because they died in a state of what? Disbelief. And that is in the meaning of the ayah that Allah Ta'ala clearly says in Surah At-Tawbah. Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number what? 113. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was prohibited for what? Seeking forgiveness for his own mother and for his own uncle, after it's been made clear that they said, as it says in the ayah, that they were the inhabitants of what? Inhabitants of the hellfire. نسأل الله يعافينا وإياكم من ذلك. ونسأل الله يعافينا وإياكم من أن نكون من أصحاب النار. طيب. So it says in the ayah that when it says it's not for the messenger or those who believe, that this affair is what, everyone? Meaning that this matter is what is prohibited. So a person don't think that it says la yanbaghi means here that he shouldn't do it. No. La yanbaghi or ma kana lin nabi, meaning here is it necessitates tahrim, necessitates that is what? Impermissible, not detested. You understand, everyone? It necessitates that it's impermissible. Is it clear what I'm saying? Because some people will say that it means ma kana lin nabi sallallahu or ma kana yani yanbaghi. He shouldn't do it. No. This necessitates a tahrim, what is unlawful, which is impermissible. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? If you read the ayah, it's in your books. Everyone, if you look in your book, read your book. It's in there, the ayah. It says that what, everyone, is not for to seek forgiveness for or the mushrikeen. And that for a person would say, oh, they shouldn't do it. La yanbaghi. Yeah, he shouldn't do it. No. Here it means that one that is impermissible. That's not just a person would say, well, it means just not befitting. No, it's not permissible. You'll find there's an ayah, for example, that Allah Ta'ala says in his book, مَا كَانَ لِلَّهِ أَن يَتَّخِذَ مِن وَلَدٍ. Oh, you'll find another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا يَنبَغِي لِلرَّحْمَنِ أَن يَتَّخِذَ وَلَدًا. يَنبَغِي. That is not befitting. Meaning, as I remember even speaking to Sheikh Rabi' about this ayah. He said that la yanbaghi means here, this is a long time ago, this is probably about 10 years ago when I was in Sheikh Rabi''s library and I was speaking to him. He said here, la yanbaghi here means a tahrim. Meaning that it's mumtani', it's impossible, and it's not befitting that Allah Ta'ala will what? Take on a child. That Allah has no children. Because the word yanbaghi or yanbaghi in the Arabic language means, and linguistically, a lot of how it's used, especially commonly amongst the Arab, and they'll mean yanbaghi means like, yes, you shouldn't do it. Ma yanbaghi laka an tafa'ala hadha, like you shouldn't do that. Here in this context, yanbaghi here, when Allah says in his book, وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لِلرَّحْمَنِ أَن يَتَّخِذَ وَلَدًا, that is not befitting, meaning that will never happen. Because it opposes his what? It opposes the characteristic of ghina and self-sufficiency, because having a child necessitates what? A need, a haja. And we know that Allah Ta'ala is free from imperfection, and imperfection for one who deserves to be worshipped is what they call ghina. It opposes the affair of what they call self-sufficiency or self-reliance upon, self-sufficiency and independence fully and completely. What opposes that is to have a child. For a person that has a child to continue his lineage, then on top of that, he resembles his father in certain aspects. So that's one of the reasons why we say that Jesus was not the son of Allah. As Allah himself said that Jesus, the son of Mary, was not his son. Nor does Allah have children. Because it goes against the affair of Allah being ghina and dhatiyya, him being self-sufficient. But the point of the matter is, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that the meaning of ma yanbaghi here means what? It's not befitting at all, meaning that this will never happen. And it's not befitting for Ar-Rahman, meaning that Allah Ta'ala does not have children at all. Doesn't mean that he should not have. No, he does not have. Nor will he have Ta'ala. A person would say a satanic statement. So you mean to tell me that God cannot have kids? As I've heard people say this. Can't God have kids? Firstly, number one, we say in this regard, Allah himself said he doesn't have children. It's clear in his final book that no one can tamper with. وقالت اليهود وقالت النصارى وقالت اليهود والنصارى نحن أبناء الله وأحباؤه قال فلما تعذبكم بذنوبكم بل أنتم بشر مما خلق يعذب من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء ويعذب من يشاء. That Allah Ta'ala says in his book about the Jews and the Christians, وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى نَحْنُ أَبْنَاءُ اللَّهِ وَأَحِبَّاؤُهُ قَالَ فَلِمَا يُعَذِّبُكُم بِذُنُوبِكُم بَلْ أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ مِمَّا خَلَقَ or مِمَّنْ خَلَقَ عفوا. That Allah Ta'ala says in his book that the Christians and the Jews say, we are the children of Allah and his loved ones. Allah says in his book, why does he punish you for your sins then? Rather you're just creation who Allah created from what? Human beings. So Allah Ta'ala is negating that he has what? Kids. And Allah Ta'ala also says in his book, in so many ayat, that Jesus the son of Mary is what? Not his son. As Allah Ta'ala has clearly said in his book, لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْمَسِيحُ بْنُ مَرْيَمَ. They have disbelieved who said that Jesus is the son of Allah. They've disbelieved. وَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ. You disbelieve who said that Allah Ta'ala is the third of three. And clearly here in this ayah, Allah says in this book that it is not befitting for Rahman to take on children. Everyone on the day of resurrection will come to Allah as a ibad and as a abd. Everyone. From the Anbiya, the prophets, and the messengers, and the angels. All are going to come on the day of resurrection as ibad, as servants. For him, tabarak wa ta'ala. So this word, yanbaghi, like we said, is not befitting for one to understand that the meaning of it is that he doesn't have or he should not have. No. The meaning is that Allah does not have. Similar to the ayat which is in your books here, that likewise it says not befitting for the message of Allah, nor is it befitting for those who believe that they have what, or they seek forgiveness for those who died in the state of disbelief after it's been made clear that they are the inhabitants of hell. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? We'll stop here. That's it for today. Any questions about the lesson? Tafadhal, Ali. It's a lie. It's a lie. On top of that, Imam Malik, they said that he was hurt. It was something that he was hurt. How are you going to now use someone in a state where a person is hurt and he's not able, as an overall general ruling, to perform prayer? That's just like me being tortured and I'm hurt. I want to raise my hands, but I can't. So why would you now want to pray in a state where a person was hurt, as they claim, from what, if he wasn't, he would have prayed the way the message of Allah prayed? Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense. Some of them pray that way. Exactly. No, we're saying in the minds of them, does it make sense that you pray that way, even though this is what we're saying? It doesn't make sense. Tafadhal. And let's just say Imam Malik did say that. Let's just say he wasn't hurt, he prayed like that. We have the hadith of the message of Allah clearly says, pray how you see me pray. So that's the reason why you say to these people, give precedence to what the message of Allah said over what Imam Malik said. Because all the A'imma have mentioned and said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمْ قَوْلِي يُخَالِفْ قَوْلِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم فَأْخُذْ بِقَوْلِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم وَاضْرِبْ بِقَوْلِ عَبْدِ الْحَائِطِ. That you find it, that he said, if you see my statement opposing what the message of Allah said, take the statement of the message of Allah, take my statement and throw it against the what? The part of the wall, the far front part of the wall. Take it and throw it against the wall. So what happened to all of this? You tell them that, they still won't take it. Listen, this is what I was raised with. This is what everybody does. This is what you see all these people. This is what they do. I'm following it. That's enough for me. You understand, everyone? Tafadhal. What you say, Cam? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. didn't say that. What would you say, Qurban? Absolutely. That's what we're saying. Absolutely. 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 Same thing. Right now, the Muslim that grew up upon grave worshiping, you come and teach him this is what's correct. You know, this is shirk with Allah. We're not supposed to worship graves or worship the dead, supplicate to the dead. We're not supposed to do these affairs. These affairs clearly go against the religion. Listen, Yahi, listen, I don't get into all that. I'm upon what I'm upon. This is what I was born with. This is what I know. That suffices me. That's the Hamiyya Jahiliyyah that the Messenger of Allah is prohibiting. Because it plunges one to doing what's incorrect and holding on to something without any evidence and proof. Just because that's what I was raised with. Or that's what I was taught by me being raised. That's all I know. And that suffices me. Like, even if you know it was incorrect, clearly, even if it's incorrect. And you even find them stating poetry like this. Of how during the time, they're quoting poetry back in Jahiliyyah. And because there was Ash'ar in Jahiliyyah. They say that even they were so used to be so blindly tied to their tribe. They used to say, if they're guided, then I'm guided. If they're misguided, then I'm misguided. Don't care. I'm just holding on to what? I'm just holding on to what they're upon or I don't care if they're guided or misguided. Listen to the point where they even said in the poetry, he said, if they're guided, I'm guided. And if they're misguided, then I'm misguided. You understand? If they're struggling, then that means that they actually are confused, that they're trying to fight. But if they just settle on batil, on falsehood, then that's what's dangerous. But if a person is trying to struggle, they're saying, like, I was correct, but it's going to take me some time, then still be patient with them. The person saying it's going to take me some time, but I understand what you're saying. That person you can be patient with. We're talking about a person that clearly says, listen, I don't care what you say, I'm sticking to this. That could be the reason for one's destruction. Say it one more time. I don't understand. When we say taqleed, we mean the taqleed that's impermissible, everybody. Because I want to clarify that. Taqleed or Hamiyya Jahiliyyah, that's impermissible, meaning following without any evidence or proof. That could be that too. Could be reason. A person should never be worshiping Allah based upon what their father and mother did. They should worship Allah and embrace the haqq based upon insight and knowledge that they truly believe without in their heart, because they learn and they educated and attain insight in the religion that what they're upon is the truth, not based upon something that's traditional. Because that's dangerous. Because a person that believes something because it's traditional is always exposed to it being what? Within himself. That it could be what? It could be rocked or it can shift or it can what? It can change. You understand? A person being upon the truth of what's correct, meaning the religion of Islam, is to be based upon insight and knowledge, not based upon tradition and custom. Is it clear what I'm saying? It should be based upon knowledge of the ilm and yaqeen, based upon ilm. Ilm nafi', shar'i, not based upon tradition. You'll find that. A lot of people that embrace or that they follow Islam based upon traditions and customs, they're the majority of those who fall into a lot of things that are impermissible. And you'll even find a lot of people that like that start making statements that oppose the religion too. Because they don't understand it. Because all they're doing, they're following it based upon a tradition and custom, not based upon what? Knowledge and insight. And I know people like that. Oh, that's my custom. I was born with Islam. Then you'll hear them talk and you hear them speak and you look at some of their actions and you'll find clearly that they're what? They haven't educated themselves in the religion. They're ignorant. Based upon certain conduct, behavior, statements, and in their dress. Especially with women overseas, for example, even when we come back from overseas, from Saudi Arabia to Jeddah, some of the women at the airport, they totally take their what? Overgarment off. They take it off at the airport. New York or Virginia, when they come to the airport, it comes off. That's to let you know clearly that they are that they're ignorant of the religion that they're upon, and they're just doing it what? Customarily. It's just a custom. They embraced it based upon a what? Tradition. A custom. Not realizing that this act that they did, if they had knowledge, they would have what? They still would have covered. But based upon ignorance and traditions and customs, and that's the reason why they're practicing religion, based upon that, that's what led them to them acts. Because it's ignorance, it's jahl. Anything else, anyone? What was you saying, Camden? What I was saying is, and this is the reason why I need you to focus. What I was saying is that what you practice, you'll find that a lot of the people who are non-Muslim, that they say they practice certain affairs or they remain upon what's incorrect because they just say to you, this is what my grandfather did. This is what my great-great-grandfather did. This is what my ancestors did. Some of them will even admit to you. Some of them will even say to you out of their own mouths, I know it doesn't sound correct. I know it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, this is what they practice. This is enough for me. So basically, you're going to remain upon falsehood because of some traditional custom that clearly you know in your mind is incorrect. It's just like I said, a person will say to you right now, it's just like saying, so basically you saying to me right now it's the daytime. No, I believe it's the daytime right now. No, it's the nighttime. It's clear. It's the nighttime. The evening time. It's almost 8 o'clock. Based upon their way of thinking it's the daytime. I don't care what you say. I know it doesn't sound right. I know it's incorrect. I know it's clear. I know it's clear. It's clear. But I know what you're saying is right, but I'm not going to believe it. Understand? I don't care what you say. It's the nighttime. It's clear. What more do you want? It's clear. I myself, I don't believe that. I know what you're saying is correct, but I don't believe that. Okay. So what if I told you right now, I don't care what you say, that's the daytime? How would you look at me? What if I came to you and tell you, I don't care what you say, 1 + 1 = 3? I don't care what you say. 1 + 1 = 2. You take one, another one, it makes 2. No. To me, I believe it's 3. I know it doesn't sound right. I know it's wrong. But to me, in my mind, I believe it's 3. You understand? Follow.
So, likening Allah to have a son, it degrades him, right?
Absolutely.
What about like you see a lot of the times all over the place, these new Avenger movies and stuff, they're taking creation and raising them up to the status of Allah's name and attributes. Wouldn't that also be considered a form of shirk also? Like breathing underwater, flying, lasers, all types of crazy stuff that they come out with. Just snapping the fingers, wiping half the creation out, all types of wild stuff. And these kids fall into because of that. The advertising.
Well, acting, the Muslims not supposed to act. They're not supposed to be involved in acting at all. All those affairs are satanic, yeah, Sheikh. We're not supposed, all of those affairs in regards to sorcery, magic, and all those Harry Potter things and things like that are not supposed to be looked at all. Especially anything connected with those affairs of rububiyyah of Allah is not supposed to be what? It's not supposed to be involved in, nor is supposed to be acted upon or act. Not supposed to involve, especially in acting, all those affairs. All those matters should be what? Avoided. It should be avoided. Especially acting. I don't know why I'm Muslim. All these affairs, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, I'm telling you, all those matters you've seen, I have not seen any of these matters benefit any of the Muslims. They even benefit the non-Muslims. All those people who are musicians, actors, comedians, all of them. Majority of them are strung out, depressed, commit suicide, drug addicts, alcohol. They complain from checking into depression clinics. A lot of them died in a humiliating state. A lot of them. All of those matters, you'll find that a majority of musicians in certain type of ways that they were humiliated in some type of way. They suffer from depression, anxiety, habits of smoking and getting high, drinking, alcohol, depression. Some of them are lost their marbles, lose their minds, do things that are extremely strange, which is an indication that all those businesses are not blessed. It's not blessed at all. It's satanic. I don't know not one majority. Matter of fact, I even did a study on this one time, and I was going to do a lecture. This was years ago. And he was just bringing all, I was presenting to certain, this was a long time ago. This probably maybe over 15 years ago. And I wanted to show how all these singers and rappers, and show all of them, how every single last one of them fell into something that was humiliated, without any exception. How some type of form, shape, form, or fashion, how they were humiliated. Singers, actors, all of them. All you got to do is check their history, what they went through, and what they're still going through. Depression. The greatest of their singers, if you give their heads of those who's considered great from amongst them, they are the most of those who are the most depressed. From people like what they say, Michael Jackson and all of them, them people were depressed. And if you even look at how he looks, you could tell the man had a lot of mental going on, and he was depressed. He had a lot of depression, and he had a lot of pain from what happened when he was a child up to when he was about to die. You could tell that man was in a lot, not only physical pain, but he was in his mental. There was a lot going on. All the people who's the heads of these people who are now considered singers, you'll find that they either died in a humiliating way, or, like we said, you'll find that they went through something that was very, very not only humiliating, but it was something that was something not only traumatizing, but it was humiliating. And you could tell that the heads of them, they were the ones that Allah, you could tell that they were tested with very bad, severe trauma of depression and sadness and grief from all these guys such as Michael Jackson and Prince and all of them, even Prince himself. If you study about it, that man had a lot of pain. He had a lot of mental issues. You could tell. He had a lot of mental issues, and you could tell he was filled with a lot of mental stress and a lot of mental pain. To let you know that all these businesses are not blessed, none of them. This type of way and that way of life it's not a blessed business. And I've even heard, and I've talked to people in the music industry before. He said, Akhi, that industry is satanic. He said, it's not blessed at all. I'm not know one person that gets in that business that comes out and says something bad happens to them. Something very evil happens to them. Either their stuff gets stolen, or somebody tries to pull a fast one, take all their money. Something very evil happens. You understand, everyone? To let you know that all these ways are not blessed. None of them. Nothing is going to be blessed with Allah Ta'ala is made impermissible. Nothing. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Any questions about the lesson? Sorry, Jafar. طيب stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.